just to let you know, there wasn't quite as many people at this one, but it was a very successful concert.
Oh,
It's the first one had, I don't know, remember how many there were at the first one, but this one only had about 80 people. And but the thing is, this concert, the portions of your music that went over the best were plasma area.
yeah.
We did a small plasma area of about 7 minutes, and we did, uh, which we intermingled with the ethereal, with the things that you did that you loved the best, that your favorite things. Those two sections seem to be the most popular for yours. We did other music from Earth and from other places, and they were accepting of all of it, and we got even applause. Uh,
Wow, that's
they
wonderful.
learned the first concert, only a couple of them clapped their hands, and the other ones were questioning what they were doing. Actually, they didn't even know what that meant. So some had learned about the earth in in some ways, and that applause was appropriate. And this time we did get applause from a majority.
Wow, that's
So
wonderful.
the concert was 2.5 hours long. We did much of your music. We about 30 minutes was just 33 minutes was just of your kind of music.
Wonderful.
So it was you were a good piece of it, but we wanted to make sure that everything was supported in music around the uh, universe, and we wanted to see how reactions were to all the different kinds of music that there were around the universe.
Right,
So you have to understand, we had reasons for all that.
right.
Your section got a very good response, very good, and um, and it was a very interesting concert. They took several hours of music along home with them on their discs, as well as a separate disc just with the concert music.
Wonderful.
So we did that for them. We decided that we should make a recording of the concert as it happens so that they would have that for posterity.
Yes,
So,
yes.
along with all the music that we gave them, which was several hours, probably I think it was 9 hours and 12 minutes, something of that nature,
Wonderful.
many, many hours of music. And it was all separated by different portions. There was a couple hours of you, and a couple hours of this, and a couple hours of that. And so, all in all, there was a good representation of everything that we were presenting to them in this concert, and they seemed to be very happy about it, and they did applaud. Now,
Hey.
it's only been a couple days since the concert, a few, so we haven't really gotten a good feedback yet, but we know that at least 50% of that crowd, 40, at least 40 of those people have listened to either the disc or the concert once again, or parts of it. So 40 people out of the 80, there was actually 82. 40 out of the 82 are actually listened to some other portions of the concert after they left in these last few days, which is an amazing thing because the last time it took a few more days before people were listening, and there wasn't quite as many. So it was only 20%, which was, I think there was just over 100 people at the last concert. So that was just 20%, where this one is 50%. So that is a great increase of listening. So we're very happy about that. And we had talked to the leaders from the eighth and ninth dimension. They're non-committal, of course, at this point. And we knew that they probably would be, but we did ask them to fill out a questionnaire which we have not gotten back yet. We have also asked the people in the audience, the 82 people, to fill out questionnaires as well. We haven't gotten any back yet. They said they will bring them back all at the same time. And I said that would be fine, but we want to see what kind of responses we got to different sections of the music that we presented. And so this should be a very interesting and more organized response than we got last time. So we'll be able to tell more from this response than we did from last response. We did have a questionnaire last time, but it wasn't received very well, and so we did not really get all of them back. So this time we asked ahead of time, before the concert, if they would agree to fully respond. Everyone would respond, and they all agreed.
Oh, okay.
So
were you able to like see responses through the computer like you talked about last time? To see
yes, well, we were able to see, like I said, what we were telling you was we were able to see how well they were responding as far as visual, because when when they're watching the concert, we can see facial reactions and eye responses, etc. And the eye responses and facial reactions were slightly better this time.
Oh, good.
So we will see what their responses are on paper as we go forward. But I think we're going to get a much better response this time. I think that things are better. Now, how it will affect them down the road, I cannot tell you yet. It's way too soon.
And is there any way of your machines indicating if the plasma is melting them at all?
The plasma was part of the concert that was interesting because the facial expressions changed a lot during the plasma presentation. And so we think that had a great response with them in some way, either very positive or very negative, but I think it was very positive. But it's hard to tell with them. We think that it was a very positive reaction, though.
And how would we tell if it's melting them into organic?
We will find out by the reactions on our questionnaires.
So you don't have like a meter of showing like changing from A.
Well, they wouldn't allow us to bring that to the concert. They don't want they would consider that invasive. So we said, okay, we won't bring that. We asked if we could bring certain things to register facial reactions and eye fluctuations, and they said that was fine. But when it came to actually showing full body movement, etc., they denied that. They said you should be able to tell everything you can about us by our faces and eyes. So they denied the melting portion. We could tell more about them melting by full body responses.
But can't you, as a cosmic being, like look down and see the light frequencies of any race line to see if they're higher or lower?
Well, we are on stage, and they are sort of darkened.
I don't mean during the concert, but I mean like right now. Can't you like see if they're?
Oh yes, we can see that there is some positive response, definitely, but we do not know to what extent, because that's what we see is the whole population. We don't see just that section of political areas, but we know that it's being shared with some of the population because we see responses to it from other areas other than the political arena.
So if those other 10 people never get involved, the 100 leaders, if 10 of them are never involved, we will never get 100% of the vote. Is that correct?
I don't think 100% is possible yet, but it is getting better. I think you'll probably get 50% of the vote, which will cause a great deal anxiety and argumentativeness between the groups, which is a good thing. That means everything will stop and they will fight among themselves instead of fighting you.
Wow. Well,
So
it did feel really good this week. Something
I think
changed.
that they're
Maybe
they're
that was
calling
what
a
happened.
meeting, yes, soon.
They're fighting with each other. That's what changed.
Correct.
And it feels
But there
really
is
good.
a large political meeting coming up on June 5th, which is not far away. So it is that there will be a large political meeting then, and then it will probably last a few days. It will probably go 5th, 6th, 7th. I'm not sure how long their meetings last, but in human terms, probably a few days at least.
That's just a meeting amongst themselves.
Yes, the highest officials, which there's more than 100 actually. There's like maybe 180 or so, but
Oh,
they will
80.
be.
Oh, I thought you said 108. 180. Wow. So we're a long
So
ways from
those
that.
officials will be meeting, but they're all privy and have all, they all have means to get to that music. All of them are supposed to listen to it. It is part of a government, what is it called? They have made it part of their meeting that they will discuss it. So everyone is supposed to listen to at least 2 to 4 hours of the music
That's a big deal.
before they can come to the meeting or before they can respond to anything at the meeting.
Right.
So I'm sure that they will be doing their homework, and many of them will be listening to 2 to 4 hours of the concert is 2.5 hours. So I'm sure most of them will take the concert and listen to that because it has portions of everything in it. Whereas the other chip has 9 hours and 14 minutes or something of just all of the different other musics. They can listen to different sections of it. But I think they'll probably listen to the concert over again.
Do you know when they will talk to God again?
That is undetermined. He said he will have to wait for the government meetings to be over, but he feels that they will get in touch with him soon afterwards.
Maybe in June even.
Perhaps.
Wonderful. That would be nice. See where that's going.
I am hoping that it will be as soon as possible.
May I ask you about Joe's music in Telepasades? How long did it take that music to transform the whole planet?
Well, it took, as far as I understood from the history, it took about a month.
Oh, very fast.
Well, it was being played constantly and consistently every day. And it was being not only to one area, but some areas were hearing one portion of the music, and other areas were hearing others. So it was a month to 6 weeks, that, from what my understanding.
And that process was a little different than just giving them a concert. It was like filling them with the music. So is
Yes,
it,
they are listening to it differently there on Telepasades. It, for some of them, it was an immediate reaction because Joe's music was so powerful to them. It was an immediate reaction. Of course, it didn't work with 100%, never does. But because there are some people that are music resistant, but it happened with 97%.
Wow.
in
Wow.
just over a month? Wow.
That's,
Just over a month. They said it's recorded some places a month, and other places closer to 6 weeks. So it still was very fast, and that is a month to 6 weeks in human time. I do not know what. I guess that is Telepasades time. I don't know how that translates.
Very fast. It wasn't like it didn't take 5 years or something. That's what I was wondering. It took years or months or just
No, actually, people were ready for a change. So the conquering of Telepacides with this music was beautiful. It was peaceful. It was all the things it should have been.
They just wanted it and said, yes, give it to us.
But of course, the first couple weeks came up with some great resistance, from what I understand. But that was overcome rather easily. So.
But what I'm wondering about is the process, the method, the technology that Joe used. Can that same process be used with the AI?
They do not have the same listening modes as Telepacides did. Telepacides was actually a very artistic place, very equipped, very advanced with sound, music, and that artistic thought process. This species is not. They are not evolved that way. So Telepacides was listening for the artistry, listening for the beauty, listening in a way that these people are not. So you have to understand, it's a whole new, different thought process from Telepacides.
But then again, if Telepacides was so high artistically, Joe's music must have had to be really, really special to go beyond what their highest high was.
Well, the thing is, it was in more than one part. It was in several sections, like a symphony, like 4 sections, where there was a fast section, a slow section. You might call it Allegra Andante and this kind of thing. So it was presented in sections so that they weren't tired of one when the other started. And so as one ended and the other began, their ears were afresh. So they became freshened up by the new sound, because you used different techniques in each of the sections of music that would gather their attention in different ways. And there, of course, were different kinds of music on the planet. And so all of them had different favorite parts, of course. But when their favorite part came, because it played over and over again, the symphony was, how long? I forget exactly how long they said it was. But it was not a short symphony by any means. It was several hours long. So it was, as it went over and over, those people that liked this section better became part of the movement forward. This person that liked this section better became this part and said, he is really speaking to me, and there was vocals in it in some parts, and it was able to speak to them that way as well. The lyrics, if you will, to it in some parts, it was mostly music, but there were several small sections of singing and choirs, and those parts were very ingenious, because that's the part that actually woke people up. Wow. With what you said to them. This is not about one thing, but about many things. This is not about you, but about what you are involved with in the unity of this world. It is not about just the world. It is about how the world exists in the universe. Wow. So you brought everything from a grassroots place to a universal place, and everything in the universal place to a grassroots place, so they could actually feel all part of each and every one of them together. This was a very unifying portion, the lyrics were. And so it was transcendent. The music was transcendent, but yet with the lyrics on those 5 or 6 different parts, brought it all together so that the people would understand exactly what it was being sung for, what it was being played for, how it unified them, how it expanded them, how it brought them into a grounding with their planet and the universe at once. So it was brilliant.
Wow.
Wow. Do you think something like that would have an effect on the eighth dimensionals? Lyrics
I
that tell
think
a
it
story?
will, but not right away. I think we have to wait and see the responses and give this a chance to sink in with their people and with their thought processes. And then the next concert, we will bring in more of a message, if you will. Right now, we're taming the wild animals. And this is what we're doing first. Next, we will speak to the wild animals. We haven't done that yet.
So that could be the angels singing more of a universal harmony message.
Well, they have certain ways of saying things that we don't have a handle on yet. We want to be able to speak to them in their own way, in their own language, and make it meaningful to them. If we were just to speak our language in our way, it would mean very little. But as we learn their language and how they communicate one with another, we can make it more meaningful. But we haven't really learned it so precisely that we can get that oomph in there with the emotion that they feel.
So you will need to be doing that. There's no way we can do that through our
Correct.
music. You have to do that.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
And I know you
But that
will
is
do
what
very
we,
good job.
how far we have gotten so far.
Wonderful.
Yay. Wonderful.
A lot of my music has the angelic language from the Azurite angels. Do they pick up on that at all?
They are not very in tuned or aligned with angelic thought processes. So there are some of them that study their existence and what they do and say, but not all of them are aligned with that.
I was just wondering if maybe it would just, they'd be saying, what is that? What is that? And they'd just be curious about it.
Some of them are curious, but few of them are studying it. Maybe more will be studying it in time, but it was more studied probably a century ago by their people, and sort of they lost interest a little bit, but there are still some that are interested in the angelic realms and what they think and their songs and their music, etc., but not as many as used to be interested.
Do you happen to know if they are still attacking Venus and the Pleiades? Are they still
No,
attacking? They're not
Venus
attacking.
is no attacks on Venus. There are no 8th or 9th dimensional attacks whatsoever at this time.
Yay!
Yay. That's very positive.
So there's an improvement.
There are 3rd dimensional attacks and 4th dimensional attacks, and some even in the upper realms of this era, but no 8th or 9th dimensional attacks in this solar system at all.
Wonderful. Am I correct that they were attacking a couple months
Yes,
ago?
they were.
So it stopped. They just stopped.
They stopped, well, they were a little bit conquered by disruptor beams. Disruptor beams, what happens is this. Rotating disruptor beams can get through pretty much anything, except because their shielding is modulated to one frequency. And if there is a disruptor beam with several different frequencies within it, it can eventually break through their shielding. So as the disruptor beams became more advanced, they had to advance their shielding, and they could not keep up with it because modulating disruptor beams broke through their shielding rather quickly after a while. because it got more powerful and more powerful. So they had to back off.
And that technology could be used with the attacks from the third and fourth also to protect us?
Yes. So they are picking up disruptor technology to use against us. But they were stopped. Their fleet was destroyed the last time before they got the disruptors in play or progress. And so there's been no attacks.
What are the names of the third and fourth race lines that are attacking us?
The Delani and the Kundi.
Do they have a lot of demonic influence? What is their problem?
We're not exactly sure. I'm really not involved in those wars at all. So they're not going to win. Your people have destroyed them pretty much.
So that's something the secret space program was probably working on. Something
Correct.
Very local.
Especially with the, yes.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. This is great news. I am looking forward to seeing how much more you know by next week. And maybe by the end of June we'll know quite a bit, probably.
Of course.
But do you think you'll get any feedback this next week, or will it not be till their
I
meeting?
do not know when they are planning to give us those back. I am thinking that it will be at the end of their conference.
To the 5th. So not so far.
The 5th, the concert, not concert, but their meeting will be the 5th through we don't know when. But probably by the 8th or 9th we'll have them.
Wonderful. So we'll know something.
Yes, by the 10th of June we're expecting to hear from them again. And to see, we have told them that we will give them another concert if they desire it.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much for all of that work you did.
Yes, thank you.
Wonderful.
Well, we were happy to do it. It was a joy. Music is a joy to us, and so that is part of creating this music for them was very joyful for us.
Yeah.
It brought a great deal of delight to all of
I have
us.
a question I've been wanting to ask you. Beethoven. Did Joe's music and Telepasades have any influence on Beethoven?
I do not know. I will have to look into that because Beethoven's music is not all similar to Telepasades, the music you wrote for Telepasades, but there is a little bit there that might be overlapping.
I'm just wondering because Joe laughs in that's how he laughs.
Oh, that is very Beethoven-like.
Every time he laughs, it's
Very good, Joe. That brings you your laughter in. Your laughter is a symphony.
So I always wondered about that.
I think that's the 9th, an unfinished one, isn't it?